AMD finally finds fixes for improving intercore latency on Strix APUs, will resolve the issue with BIOS updates. The Strix APUs had over 170 ns of latency between Zen 5 and Zen 5C cores, which resulted in performance setbacks in multi-threaded operations. ASUS and AMD announced intercore latency fixation with the upcoming BIOS update for Strix APUs, now delivering around 60-70 ns of latency. The complex die design of AMD's Zen 5 chips has caused some issues with the core-to-core latency, which has been known to affect performance in specific workloads. This problem has affected both the desktop high-end Ryzen 9000 chips and AMD's Strix APUs, including Ryzen i9 365, Ryzen i9 HX 370, and Ryzen i9 HX 375 processors. The high core-to-core or intercore latency is particularly prevalent in high core count chips, which involve CPUs with dual CCDs. This hasn't spared even the Strix APUs, which bring both Zen 5 and Zen 5C core clusters. Anand illustrated this with a review of the Ryzen 9 9950X as well as the Ryzen i9 HX 370 CPU. While the problem was resolved for the desktop Ryzen 9000 processors through a BIOS patch, the high latency on the Strix APU still exists. Thankfully, this is soon going to be history, as ASUS and AMD have managed to sort out this problem. Even though the information hasn't come officially from either of the companies, AT9550 Pro has provided the early update, which shows that AMD has successfully fixed the intercore latency drastically. As you can see from the table, the usual intercore latency usually stays between 160 and 180 ns, which is quite high compared to the intercore latency in the Zen 5 core cluster. Going outside the Zen 5 cluster has affected the multi-core performance of Strix APUs noticeably in workloads that require more cores for faster processing. With an experimental update, AMD and ASUS have been able to reduce the latency down to 60-70 ns, which is almost 2x plus improvement. While the core latencies are still higher compared to Zen 5 to Zen 5 and Zen 5C to Zen 5C cores, these will have a noticeable impact on specific workloads. The first notebook to receive this update is the ASUS TUF Gaming Air 2024, which was updated to BIOS 312 or higher but will soon be released to more ASUS laptops, eventually reaching more notebooks from other manufacturers.